Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Gittin Daf Hey. We begin on Daf Daled Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom of the Amud. So by now we all know that when a Shliach delivers a get from Medina Sayam, he must recite the following: Befanai Nichtav, Ubefanai Nechtam, it was written and signed in my presence. Why? What for? We have 2 reasons. Rava says it serves as kind of a certification to verify that the chasimais, the signatures on this get, are indeed genuine. Whereas Rabbi says the issue is lishma, we're concerned that the people out there in Chutz La'aretz are not knowledgeable on this halacha, that the get has to be prepared with the intention to be used specifically for this isha, and therefore the shliach has to testify as such. Here comes a kasha on Rabbah from a Mishnah later on Daf Tes. Tanan, we have a Mishnah which says, "Ha-mevi get from Medina Sayam." When one delivers a get from Medina Sayam, he has no ability to speak, to say these words. Why? We'll see in a minute. What do we do now? There's another option. Just certify the chasimais. Im yeshal of Edom, if we have Edom signed on the get, Yiskai b'chaysamav, we just go and certify those signatures. Basically, another 2 Edom come along and testify that indeed the handwriting, the signatures do match up with the names on those signatures. Vavinaba, we had a question on this Mishnah. What do we mean when we say he cannot say befanei nechtav, ubefanei nechtam? What's wrong with him? Ilay mecherish, is he deaf mute? Well then, we are running into a greater problem. Cheresh bar isuya gittehu. Since when can a cheresh serve as a shliach to deliver a get? Now we have a Mishnah. Hakol ksherim. Lavias a get. Anybody is eligible to deliver a get. Chutz me cheresh, shoyte v'katan, except for a deaf mute, a deranged fellow, or a katan. They're lacking in mental development, they're lacking in das, which is a prerequisite for serving as a shliach. So if it's a cheresh, he's not even roi to be a shliach. V'amar Rav Yosef, how is it that he delivered but he cannot speak? So Tosfos says, by the way, why not just speak about a regular elaim, just plain mute, not deaf mute? An elaim which is just mute still qualifies as a shliach. So he says, then the Mishnah would simply say, V'loi omar, he didn't say. The Mishnah specifies, Ve'ina yochoi loimar. That sounds more, serious. We're describing a more, severe situation. Apparently referring to a cheresh. So how is that? V'omar Rav Yosef, hacha b'mayaskinan. We're speaking as follows. You're right. He came along with the get, he delivered it as a pikeach, fully healthy. By the time he got around to reciting those words, he became a cheresh. Okay, so that's out. What do we do now? The get is kosher, but we have to be mekayim the chasimais, because that apparently is our main concern. The chasimais, are they real? Are they genuine? Well, the Rava Nicha, that's good according to Rava, whose concern was with respect to the chasimais. So you've addressed that concern by being mekayim the chasimais independent of the shliach. L'Rabba kash, according to Rabba, the concern is l'shema. How are you going to address that by just certifying the signatures as genuine? Answers the Gemara, you're right. We're speaking about a different point in history. The Mishnah here is describing a situation of l'achar shalamdu. After the Bnei Medina Sayam became more educated and learned, they all know about Lishma. So Lishma is no longer a concern. Rather, the concern is only the chasimos, and that's been certified. If that's the case, they all know about Lishma, Yachol Nami. So, even if the shliach can speak and can say Befanei Nichtav, or Befanei Nechtam, so why does he have to say it? once the Lishma concern is no longer relevant. And Rashi points out, suppose we're speaking, where we have other Eidim to be Mekayim the Chasimas, so that's not a concern. And the Lishma is not concerned, so why at all do we still have this takana that a Shliach has to say b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nachtam? We're concerned that perhaps it's going to revert to its original state, people will forget, become unlearned, and therefore the Chachamim just stuck to it. Keep the takana in place. If it is so, that the Chachamim insist on maintaining this practice of saying b'fanei nechtam, einoi yachel nami. So even this fellow who cannot speak, we should insist that the get is possible because he hasn't conformed to the takana. Says the Gemara, we're not going to go to that extent. This type of scenario where you have a healthy man who suddenly turned deaf mute is so unlikely and uncommon. And we know that the Chachamim never apply their gzeiros to uncommon situations. Pikech v'nescharish, that's a musa de leishchicha, something so unreal and uncommon. O musa de leishchicha, lo yigazu barabon. Chachamim did not apply their gzeiros, and therefore we just let him off the hook. Asks the Gemara, v'ha'isha de leishchicha, how common is it that an isha will bring her own get as a shliach? Basically, she was tasked by her husband to deliver her own get, bring it to that town, and accept it, so to speak, in front of the bezdin, activate it in front of the bezdin. So until she gets to that town, she's just a delivery man. Is that something common? Of course not. But Tanan, we still learn that the isha has to say b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nechtam. But Tanan, ha'isha atzma v'ya gita, of course she can bring her own get as a shliach and activate it in front of bezdin. Or avad provided she has to make that same recital as a regular shliach. And the question is why? Everybody's learned. No issue of lishma. Suppose we have Eidim to be Mekayim the shtar, no issue of Kiyum hashtar. Chachamim maintain their takana because things might revert. Well, as we said, it only applies to common scenarios. This is so uncommon that should not be included. Shaloi tachlik b'shlichus. Says the Gemara, we don't want to differentiate between one type of shliach and the other, between healthy shluchim. Of course, if it's an unhealthy shliach, we said that's something uncommon. But your typical standard situation of a shliach delivering a get, we don't want to cause confusion and differentiate between this and that, and therefore when the isha brings it, we treat her like a regular shliach, and she must say b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nechtam. If that's the case, ba'al nami. If we don't want to be machalak between different types of shluchim, what if the husband himself brings the get to this town to deliver to the isha? He should also be required to say ala matanya. So why do we learn otherwise? We have the Braisa, which says, "Hu atzma shehevi gitei." Husband himself delivers his get. Ein tzarich leima b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nechtam. He doesn't have to say it. Why not? The answer is because it's not relevant in that case. Tama mai amar rabbanon tzarich leima b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nechtam. Why is it so? Why at all do we obligate the shliach to recite these words? Dilma asi baal. Because we're concerned. It's not a real concern. We had this in the base. Most people are baki with ishma. Most situations the signatures are real. The concern is primarily that the husband might come make trouble. He might claim that he was set up. This whole thing is a forgery. Dilma asi baal ma'arer. He might come and question the get, challenge the get, possibly, and create confusion and create psul in the get. He'll claim that it's not kosher. And that's why we certify it ahead of time. We plug the holes. We have the b'fanei nechtam ahead of time, so that it's certified and closed up. Well, says the Gemara, that entire concern is not relevant in a case where the husband himself is delivering his get to the wife. Look, he's holding on to the get in his hand with his hands. He's bringing it himself. He's personally involved. You think he's going to come later and complain about it? It wasn't written properly, it was forged, it doesn't make sense. And therefore there's no concern. Tashma, Here comes another kasha on Rabbah. Rabbah, who's the one who says that the concern is lishma. The Baimine Shmuel asked Mirafuna the following question: Shnayim sheviu GITTEN dinasayam. Suppose two people were shlichim, they were tasked with delivering a get from Medina Sayam. Tzrichin sheyoyimru b'faneinu nichtav u'faneinu nechtam, or ain't tzrichin. Are they required to say b'faneinu nichtav or not? Armarle, he responded, ain't tzrichin, they don't need. You know why? Uma ilu yoyimru b'faneinu girsha. Suppose they get up and tell us, Rabbi Yisai, we saw the husband giving a get to his wife. Milay mehemni, aren't they believed? So basically, we have the highest form of verification. If they would want, they can just say that she was divorced, case closed. Right? So the fact that they're coming with this get, we have Adam, so to speak, telling us that in fact everything is real, legitimate, and there's no room for questioning. And therefore they don't have to even say b'fanei nechta, b'fanei nechta. Right? They're basically coming and telling us, the husband gave us this get. That's the strongest indication that it was a real get. It's genuine, it's legitimate, it's real. Otherwise, why is the husband giving them a get if it's not a real get? So basically, nothing else has to be said. No further discussion required. Now, this works according to Rava, where the issue was legitimacy. L'Rava nicha, l'Rabba kasha, but according to Rava, the issue is lishma. How does this address lishma? The same discussion as before. We're speaking after the Bnei Chutzlars became educated, and there's no longer concern about lishma. If that's the case, chad nami, then it would apply even to one shliach. Concerned that perhaps things will revert to their original state. People will forget about lishma. Therefore, we want to keep the takana intact. If that's the case, then to aid them as well. When two people bring the get, they should also be required to say b'fanei nichtav to address the lishma concern, although not applicable today, but perhaps in the future, will be forgotten from the Bnei Chutzlaretz. And basically, it's a rerun of the previous Gemara, word for word. Beitrei demasu gita misle shchicha. To have two people bring a get is something so uncommon. Umisle shchicha, the gods of Rabbanon, on which the Rabbanon did not apply the Gzeira. What about Isha bringing her get? That's something uncommon as well. But tonight we have a Mishnah that requires her to say, she can bring a get, but she must remember to say it. We don't want to differentiate between different types of shluchim. So, just like a regular shliach brings a get, he has to say likewise the Isha. Different than when it's two shluchim, which is really something unusual. But if it's a single shliach, doesn't matter if it's a man, a woman, or the wife herself, doesn't matter. If that's the case, Baal Nami, it applies to the husband bringing the get as well. Alomatanya, why did we learn otherwise? If he himself delivers his get to the wife, he doesn't have to say it. And the answer is Tamamai, why is it at all that Amar Rabbanon Tzorach Leima B'fanei why do we require this recital? Dilma Asi Ba'al Ma'ari Rapasaleu, concerned the husband will come and question the get and cast doubt about its legitimacy. Hashta min kadnakli biyade. Now he's holding it, he's bringing it himself, he's personally involved. V'ir Uri Kamara Alei will come question the get. Unrealistic, improbable, and therefore we leave it alone. Okay, so basically, we thought we had two kashas on Rabbah, and we answered an chiddush. La'achar shalamdu. Things changed. They became more educated. And therefore, min hadin, we're not concerned about lishma, but there is a gzeira. Just keep it in place. Perhaps things will change back, but that gzeira only applies to common scenarios and not to unusual situations, such as a pikech v'nescharish, as in case 1, or when you have two people bringing the get, that also allays our concerns, and likewise, if the husband himself brings a get, well, then there's no concern at all. Tashma, here comes another raya against Rabbah. Rabbah is the one who says that the issue is the Shema. Maybe get dinasiyam. A person delivers a get, and delivers it to the Isha. When he failed to make that recital. If you found, independent verification and certification about the chasimos, that's okay. Otherwise, it's puzzle. Have, it would appear from here, we can conclude that what? The whole entire takana to say this thing is not lahachmer, like to make it difficult for the isha, to make it more complicated, just the opposite. Chacham are trying to make life easier for us. To make it easier for us. It's a kula to her. So that she no longer has to go look for Adam to certify her star. It's been certified upon delivery. Okay, so that's the brisa. Now this brisa is a raya to Rava, but a kasha to Rabba. The Rava who says the concern is the chasimis nicha. Okay, this brisa is great. As soon as you address the chasimis, you're good. The Rabba, however, who says the concern is lishma, kasha. Very difficult to understand how being Mekayim the Chasimis addresses the concern. Once again, the same teres, Lachasha Lamdu was speaking after everybody became Lamdu, and Lishma was par for the course. Said the Gemara of Amras, haven't you told me before that even now we still maintain the Takana Gzeira, Shema Yachshar, double concerned that the population out of Eretz Yisrael will lose their limud, and they'll forget about Lishma. Shema Yachshar, double Kilkula. The answer is, you're right, but here it's a desperate situation. Kisha Nisis. What happened was, she already married. She took the get, thinking she's divorced. She went and remarried. And therefore, we give her a break. We're not going to insist, that the get is, we're not going to question the get. Just because there was no b'fanei nechtam, since she's already at this advanced stage in life. If that's the case, the reason why we're giving her a break is because she married. So how do you explain the wording of the brayse? It appears that the entire requirement for b'fanei nechtam is not lahachmir aleo. It's not to make it difficult for her, to make it easier for her, and therefore we give her this break. Actually, the reason is totally different. Mishum denisasu, because it's opposite to be that in this case she remarried, so we're going to leave her alone. But typically we do insist. It is critical. Says the Gemara, it's exactly what the Brisa means to say. We're speaking that she remarried. Hachika Amar, the Brisa means like this. So this fellow forgot to say b'fanei nechtam. V'chitema, perhaps we'll say lachmer oleo v'lavka. Right? Let's be very strict upon her. Insist. And have her leave her new husband because this get was not delivered properly. That would be the Hava Amina. The response is no. No. We're not going to go to that extent and be machmer to this point that the lack of a fanei nechtav will require her to leave her husband. No. The point is the whole point is to make it smooth and easy. So the takana is go say b'fanei nechtav, go say b'fanei nechtam, so that we know the get was written lishma, so that we know that the chasimas are fine. But ultimately, if she remarries without doing that, we're not going to insist that she leaves her husband. Why? Why not? The answer is like this: the entire concern here is not really so real. Tamamai. Why is it so that we require b'fanei nichtav to be said initially? Dilma asibal. The whole concern is perhaps the husband will come run along, ma'ara pasale, and question the get, and cast doubt on the get. Right? So really, like we said in that base, people know about lishma. People don't sign, a get. They don't forge GITTEN. The concern is that the husband might come make trouble. And then we're really in trouble because he's going to testify against the get. That's the way Rashi learns, the way Tosfos learns on the Gimel. The fact is, people will start questioning the get. It's not a good situation. Hashta balo k'ma'ara. But the fact is, now the husband does not come. He's not here yet. She's remarried. Everything's quiet on the scene. We're going to make the trouble. We're going to stir up trouble. So sure, initially, we try to preempt any concerns. You have to say b'fanei nechtam to avoid any possible future concerns. But the fact is, she didn't, and she got married. Leave her alone. Let it stay put. Let's not stir up trouble. Says the Gemara, Biplukta, it would appear at this machlekes between Rabba, whose concern is Lishma, and Rava, whose concern is the Chasimos on the star. Biplukta the Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Shimon Levi. It would appear that it matches with another machlekes between Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Shimon Levi, who seem to be discussing the same point. Chad Amar lefi she'ein v'kiin lishma, v'chad Amar lefi she'ein edem mitzurin l'kaimah. One of them explained the reason is because of the lishma, and the other one because of the edem. We're not sure who says what. To time, let's conclude. The Rabbi Shimon Levi who the Amar lefi she'ein v'kiin lishma. It's Rabbi Shimon Levi who holds of the lishma concern. How do we know? The Rabbi Shimon bar Abba, that was his name. I see Gita l'kamei Rabbi Shimon Levi. He delivered a get from Medina Sayyam in the presence of Rabbi Shimon Levi. Ve'amar lei, and the Rabbi Shimon bar Abba who delivered a get asked the question to Rabbi Shimon Levi. Tzrichna le'meimar b'fanei nechtav b'fanei nechtam. Do I need to say that? Oilai or not? Amar lei, he responded, Lo tzrichas, you don't have to. Why? Lo yamru ala b'deres harishonim she'en b'ki'in l'shma. Only in the previous generations, where they were not proficient with the Shema, this recitation was required. Aval b'deres hachronim, but today everybody's learned, everybody's educated. The b'ki'in l'shma, Lo, there's no concern, you don't have to say it. Tis time. This is a clear raya than a fact. According to Rabbi Shimon Levi, the issue was Lishma, and therefore it's inapplicable, and he doesn't have to say it. V'tispra, says the Gemara, we have a kash on this. How could you assume that Rabbi Shimon bar Abba was bringing the get by himself, a single shliach? Rabba is like the Rabba. Let's remember, Rabba agrees with Rabba's concern about the chasimos. So although nowadays everybody knows the halachas, but Lishma is not concerned, but the chasimos are still not verified. So why wouldn't he have to say for the chasimos? Another question. Haven't we just said that even after they learned the halachas, the chachamim still maintained their takana shama yachshar double kakulu? Perhaps we're concerned that perhaps it's going to revert back. People will forget the halacha. So how can we go without the fanei nichtav? So it must be that Rabbi Shimon bar Abba wasn't himself. Rabbi Shimon bar Abba inish achruna havabade. He had somebody else with him. There were two shluchim bringing the get. Oh, that changes the equation totally, because when we have two shluchim, we're not concerned about the chasimais because they can verify it. And number two, it's something uncommon, as we said before. Something uncommon doesn't have the gzeira. So we don't have the concern of Rabba or Rava. And that explains why he was not required. They were not required to say b'fanei nichtav. And the reason why the Gemara did not mention the other, shliach that came with Rab Shimon bar Abba, we only mentioned Rab Shimon and nobody else. Mishum kvoided Rab Shimon on account of the covet of Rab Shimon, lest we appear to be equating, the other fellow with Rab Shimon, so we sort of ignored him. We left him out of the story, but really he came with somebody else. So bottom line is, we did prove that Rab Shimon Levi subscribes to Rabba's concern of Lishma, and therefore, nowadays, that there are Baki Lishma. By the way, we're not speaking about nowadays. Today, the halacha is that even in all situations, even in Eretz Yisrael today, we say b'fanei nechtam. That's the halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Taisus brings it on the Vav and Aleph on the bottom, and that's how we pass in Shulchan Aruch. But in any case, but there is achrein in the later generations when they were Baki Lishma, there was no concern of Lishma, and therefore there's no need to say b'fanei nechtav. And although typically we just maintain, the takana because of the gzeira shema yachshar, but when there are two edim, that's something which is not shchiach, and therefore we discount it. Itmar, here comes another discussion, something which we already mentioned back on Daf Gimel. Bifnei kama noisnei la. Shliach comes and delivers a get to the isha. How many people have to be present upon delivery? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Chanina, this is a machlekes. Chadam once says, "B'fnei shnayim." Shliach has to deliver it in front of two edim. Rashi says they'll testify. You know that he said b'fanei nechtav. That's all you need. 2 eidim. The other one disagrees. You need 3. Watching the handing over of the shtar. Who says what? This time we can conclude Rabbi Yehuda the Amar Fnei Shnaim, he holds 2. The Rav and Barav Chizda. There's a story about Rav. I see Gittel came to Rabbi Yehuda. He brought a get and delivered in presence of Rabbi Yehuda. But Amar Lei. He came to Rabbi Yehuda to ask him, and he said, Amar Lei, he says, go give it Zil Havla Babitrei. Go find 2 people and hand the get to the Isha in front of them, and say, in their presence, the words B'fanei nichtav, B'fanei nechtav. This time, this is a right that Rabbi Yehuda in fact holds 2 is enough. Whereas Rabbi Chanina holds you need 3. What does this machlekes depend on? Lema, perhaps we can say b'hakamifli. The point of machlekes is as follows: the mandam Fnei Shnayim. It's Rabbi Rav again, the one that suffices with 2 eidim to watch him delivering it and watch him say b'fanei nichtav. Because Sabar, he holds l'fish ein b'kin l'shma. The concern is l'shma. And as soon as you have 2 eidim who hear b'fanei nichtav, that's enough. Now you know it's l'shma, and you have edus down the road that in fact that was verified. Uman damar b'fnei shloisha, the other one who holds that you have to give it in front of 3. Why 3? 3 is like a bezdin. You know why? Because Savar l'fish ein eidim mitzuin l'kaimoi. He says the reason for b'fanei nichtav is in order to certify the chasimas. And now when the shliach gets up and says b'fanei nichtav, it's as though he's certifying it, and therefore you need 3 dayanim, which is standard fare for kiyum shtar. They're basically as a bezdin certifying the shtar. That's why 2 is not enough. Eidim is not enough. You need 3 dayanim. Says the Gemara, v'tispra. How can you suggest this as the pshat? Ha, midrab Shubban Levi Amar, l'fish ein b'kin l'shma. Because this sort of ties into the previous discussion, where we had a machlekes between Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Shubban Levi regarding the reason for b'fanei nichtav, and we proved that according to Rabbi Shubban Levi, it's l'shma concern. So apparently, the opposing shita, which is Rabbi Yechanan over there, Rabbi Yechanan Amar l'fish ein eidim tzum l'kaimos, because of the eidim, because of the kiyum, because of the chasimos. Okay, so having said that, it's not going to match with today's discussion. And over here, how could Rabbi Yechanan tell us delivery in front of 2 is enough, which we've just tied into the svara of lishma? It's a straight out contradiction. Again, we have 2 machlekes. Machlekes number 1 between Rabbi Yechanan and Shubban Levi regarding the reason for b'fanei nichtav. Rabbi Shubban Levi was proven to hold lishma, which indicates Rabbi Yechanan holds kiyum. Machlekes number 2 between Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Chanina. How many have to be present when he delivers the get? Rabbi Yechanan says 2. And now comes the problem. If the reason for that is because all we need are 2 eidim to testify that he said b'fanei nichtav to allay any concerns of lishma, well, that's inconsistent with Rabbi Yechanan before. The previous Rabbi Yechanan, who's concerned about the mitzuyim l'kaimah, the kiyum ashtar. Another question we have on this. Harabi islay the Rava. We all know that Rava agrees with Rava is concerned about the kiyum of the chasimis. How come Rabbi Yechanan says 2 eidim is enough to watch the delivery and testify that there was lishma? What about the kiyum of the chasimis? That's also a concern. And for that you need 3 dayanim to certify the shtar. Elo dekuli alma be'inon eidim mitzuyim l'kaimah. Says the Gemara, you're right. Everybody, meaning Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Chanina, would hold that we have to be Mekayim the shtar right now. Right? So the reason for b'fanei nichtav is to address the chasimos. So for that we need a bezdin to certify. We need a bezdin, you're right. We have 3. How do we have 3? We have the shliach, who can join. The question here is like this. B'shliach naseit. In a case where the shliach is becoming an aid, which is happening right here, because he's also delivering, He's an involved party. He's delivering the get, but he's also testifying as to the kashrus get. That's okay. But the question is, can he take it a step further? Ve'ed nasa dayan kamiflagi. Can the aid now serve as a dayan as well? Can he wear two hats? I'm testifying and also receiving the testimony and certifying based on the testimony. He's sort of playing a double role. Kamiflagi, that's the point of machlekes. We know that by dinei nefasha is a capital punishment. Cases we can't do that. We have one role and that's it. The question is, in this case, do we allow for that? The sheet that says that two witnesses are enough. Yeah, even the shliach can join. He can become one of the dayanim, which gives us a total of 3 to be mekayim the shtar. Whereas the other sheet that says you need 3 dayanim independent of the shliach, because somebody yells, nah, shliach nasa eid. Sure, the shliach can become an eid, but that's it. He stops right there. Eid nasa dayan, but he can't serve as a dayan as well. It's too far gone. Says the more why. We know that in matters of the chacham, of the rabbanon, like in this halach of kiyum shtar, which is in the rabbanon, yeah, even an eid can serve as a dayan. Ella, rather, we have to come up with a different shot. Why would we need 3 people aside from the shliach? Ella hachabak mifli machlekes here is as follows. So again, everybody requires kiyum shtar. For that we need 3. And everybody would theoretically hold that the shliach can join them. So you need 2 plus him. So why would that not be enough? Why would Rabbi Chanina require 3? The Mar Savar, given the Isha Kshir, Laves Aget. Here it's different, since we know that an Isha can theoretically serve as a shliach for her own get, as we learned before. That might have happened. Zimnin de Maisel Leitasa. It could happen that an Isha will bring the get. And they'll rely on her, meaning they'll incorporate her into this 3-man bezdin. She'll serve as number 3. And of course that doesn't work. Even if a shliach can become an eid and a dayan, but that's if he's an eid kasha, but not an isha. And therefore, on account of that concern, we say, you know what? Let's require 3 people in all situations, lest we come to this type of confusion. V'idach, and the other shita, Rabbi Yehuda holds, no, it's not concerned. Isha made a yadi. Everybody knows that isha is not kosher to be a dayan. They're never going to rely on her as one of the 3, and therefore, typically, you don't need 3 men. 2 men plus the shliach is enough. So, if an isha will happen to bring her a get, then everybody knows you need 3 aside from her. They're not going to rely on her. So, bottom line, everybody's working with the premise that you really need 3 people to be mekayim the shtar, and the shliach can join. The question is whether we're concerned about in the case of an isha joining, and therefore we require 3 people aside from the shliach, or that's not a concern. Tanika said Rabbi Yehuda that 2 people are enough. Now we're in trouble. A person delivers a get and failed to say b'fanei nichtav. Yotzi v'avad mamzer. Divrei Rabbi Meir takes a very strict approach to the halachos of GITTEN. If you deviate even 1 iota from the chachamim's directives, it's over. Even if she remarries, she has to leave her new husband. Child is treated as a mamzer, such as in this case where he failed to say b'fanei nichtav. V'chacham oimrim, not so far. Ein avlad mamzer. No, we don't consider the vlad a mamzer, but you should somehow rectify what you did. Ketzad yasa, what should he do? Yitleno heimeno. Take back the get from the isha and redo it. V'yachzor v'yitneno lo, and return it to her b'fnei shnaim, in front of 2. That's the key word here, b'fnei shnaim. And say b'fanei nichtav, which you omitted last time. B'yomer b'fanei nichtav. So this is a right to Rabbi Yehuda. It needs to be done in the presence of 2 and not more. Now we have a kasha on this price of Rabbi Meir. Mishum deli Omer b'fanei nichtav yoytziv lad mamzer. Rabbi Meir takes it to that extent that if he forgot to say b'fanei nichtav, the child is a mamzer and she has to leave. Yes, in Rameh l'tamei, Rabbi Meir follows his shita. D'Omer Rabbi Nuna b'shmei ula Amma haram ha'ayman ha'yira Meir used to say that things are absolute. Kol ha'meshana mimadbeya shetovu. Chachamim begittin, a person deviates from the matbeya. Matbeya is sort of like a coin, but it means the process which the Chachamim established and coined, so to speak. In terms of a gittin, if you don't follow, you're out. Yotzi v'avad mamzer. Says the Gemara story with Bar Hedya. Bar Hedya was a shliach. Boi la suya gittin. He was tasked with bringing a get from Medina Siyam to Eretz Yisrael. So before he left town, he came to seek, advice, to get instructions from Rabbi Achi, who was the town's, GITTEN expert. Also, Rabbi Achi. He was a Munah in charge of GITTEN. Amar Leis, Rabbi Achi gave him instructions, very specific instructions. Tzorach ato lamoid al kol ois v'ois. If you want to do it right, you have to be present. You have to be standing there while they're writing every single letter of that get. Make sure it's done properly. Lashma, etc. Also, then he came to Rabbi and Rabasi, and they sort of made it easier for him. They told him, you don't have to do that. As long as you're standing there, let's say in the beginning, it was done Lashma, you can assume the rest of the get followed on the same track. So he responded, well, maybe I should be extra stringent. It's not necessary, but maybe it's better. No. Perhaps you'll say that you'll do a chumrah. It'll be more makbid than required, than necessary. Don't do that. Nimtza atam moitzi las. I'll get in Rishonim, because then you're sort of going to be negating Gittin that were written before this one, earlier Gittin that were not done to this high standard. And that's no good. Being machmer isn't always a mala, because then you're sort of putting down the other ones that weren't done this way. So just do as instructed, do what you have to do, and don't add. Rabbi Barachana, I see Gitta, he himself delivered a get as follows. Palga ichtav kamei. So the first half of the get was written in his presence properly. Upalgal ichtav kamei, and the second half was not. So he walked out of the room, he didn't watch the entire get. Also lekamei the Rabbi Lazar. He came to Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar says, no problem. I feel like kasabay l'shita achas l'shma, even if the shliach only watched the first line being written l'shma, we assume the rest of the get followed on the same track. Shuvei nitzorech. There's no more need to be standing there. We can assume it's okay. Rav Ashi Amar a bigger chiddush. Afilu kan kol musa v'kan megilta. Even if the shliach wasn't even watching the actual writing, he was standing in the next room and he hears the sefer preparing his kulmas, his quill, scraping it and saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this lishma. I'm writing lishma." And kan megilta is when he's fixing the megillah, the parchment, and he's preparing himself to write the get lishma. You hear those words of preparation. That's enough. We assume the rest was written properly, even without watching it. Tanakh say the Rav Ashi. We have a right from our Bryce to this extent. But even limited presence is sufficient. Maybe get even if the shliach is on the first floor and the sefer writing the get is on the second floor, or the other way. Hu ba'aliyah, sefer b'bayis is upstairs and sefer is downstairs. Even though he's running in and out the entire day, he's not standing there for too long. Kosher, the get is kosher, and he can say b'fanei nechta. That's the Bryce. Now, hu b'bayis, v'sefer b'aliyah. So in the first case, when the shliach is downstairs, sefer is upstairs. Halak chazilei. He didn't see anything. He's in a different room. How does that work? Elo lav kigon neshama kan kol musa v'kan megilta. Apparently, simply hearing the clinging, the sound effects of preparing the quill and the parchment with lishma, that is sufficient to enable the shliach to say b'fanei nichtav u'b'fanei nechtav. Okay, let's summarize today's daf. We have the machlekes Rabba and Rava, which turns out to be a machlekes Rabbi Yechon and Rabbi Shimon Levi as well. The Gemara came up with a chiddush, la'achar shalamdu, that allays the concern of lishma, but we still want to maintain our earlier gzera. Perhaps things will revert, but that gzera only applies to common cases as opposed to something which is uncommon. Pikeach v'nescharish, an isha bringing her get, two people bringing a get, and likewise, in an unrelated thing, when the husband brings a get, that's also not a concern because he's not going to be ma'arer on his own get. We had a question in terms of how many people have to be present when he hands the get to the isha, 2 people or 3 people, and the Gemara's maskana was perhaps both are concerned about the chasimas of the shtar, and really we need 3. The question is, can we incorporate the shliach as well? Can we, or should we not, for concern that it might be an isha? That's the machlekes. We had the chiddush at the end of the Gemara, that even limited presence on account of the shliach is enough to say b'fanei nichtav u'b'fanei nechta. All the best to you, b'suras teves and atzlacha rabba.